Operation Ziveze, the hunt down of PRASA ghost workers. In the corridors of South Africa's public institutions, stories of reform often begin with quiet audits and end with thunderous revelations. But at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA, one such reform effort unfolded like a political drama, part investigation, part reckoning, and part redemption. It came to be known as Operation Ziveze, a campaign that exposed one of the most troubling symptoms of institutional decay: ghost workers on the payroll. The political and organizational landscape. By the time Operation Ziveze began, PRASA was no stranger to controversy. The agency, once envisioned as the backbone of affordable public transport, had become synonymous with financial mismanagement, procurement scandals, and deteriorating rail services. Commuters across the country experienced daily delays, cancellations, and unsafe conditions. Politically, PRASA operated in a charged environment. Public entities were under increasing scrutiny as South Africa grappled with the long shadow of state capture. The national mood demanded accountability. Treasury pressures, parliamentary inquiries, and public outcry created a climate in which complacency was no longer tolerated. Internally, PRASA's organizational structure had become bloated and fragmented. Years of poor controls, inconsistent human resource systems, and weak oversight created fertile ground for payroll irregularities. Rumors circulated about employees who existed on paper but not in reality, individuals who collected salaries without ever setting foot in an office or depot. It was within this tense atmosphere that the leadership resolved to act. PRASA's financial crisis. The agency's finances told a sobering story. Mounting operational losses, declining passenger numbers, and ballooning wage bills placed PRASA under severe strain. A significant portion of its budget was consumed by salaries, leaving little room for infrastructure maintenance or service improvements. Auditors began to flag anomalies, payroll expenses that didn't align with actual staff deployment, inconsistencies in employee records, and unexplained payments. The wage bill kept rising, yet productivity did not. For an organization already struggling to restore services and credibility, the suspicion that hundreds or even thousands of salaries were being paid to non-existent employees was more than a financial issue. It was a moral one. The launching of Operation Ziveze. Against this backdrop, PRASA launched Operation Ziveze, a comprehensive verification campaign aimed at cleaning up the payroll. The word Ziveze carried symbolic weight, evoking the idea of revealing or bringing into the open what had long been hidden. The operation was not a routine administrative exercise. It was structured as a coordinated, high-stakes intervention. Employees across regions were required to present themselves physically for verification. Identification documents, employment records, and biometric checks were used to confirm who was legitimately on the payroll. The message was clear. If you were a real employee, you had nothing to fear. If you were a ghost, your time was up. Across depots, offices, and stations, lines formed as workers queued for verification. For many, it was a moment of uncertainty. For management, it was a moment of truth. The vanishing of 1,159. When the results came in, the scale of the problem stunned even seasoned officials. 1,159 employees failed to appear for verification. They simply vanished names on a system, but not in real life. No faces, no identification, no proof of employment. Just empty entries draining millions from the agency's coffers. The disappearance confirmed what many had suspected. The payroll had been infiltrated by ghost workers, either through deliberate fraud, systemic neglect, or a combination of both. A preliminary investigation revealed that PRASA had ghost workers, employees who had died long ago, some who had been fired, and others who had retired, but were still on the PRASA payroll. It was an organized fraud scheme by certain insiders to steal money. The numbers told their own story. Over 1,000 salaries were being paid without corresponding labor. Thousands of commuters were suffering daily service failures. And yet the money meant to fix the system had been quietly siphoned away. Operation Ziveze had lifted the veil. The money saved. The removal of the ghost workers had an immediate financial impact. With 1,159 fraudulent or unverified positions eliminated, PRASA's wage bill dropped significantly. Millions of rand previously lost to phantom salaries were now freed for legitimate operational needs. The savings offered a rare moment of relief in an otherwise strained financial environment. More importantly, the cleanup restored a measure of integrity to the payroll system. It sent a powerful signal to employees, unions, and the public. Accountability was no longer negotiable. For a struggling agency, the financial recovery was only part of the victory. The real gain was institutional credibility. Conclusion: Operation Ziveze was more than a payroll audit. It was a turning point, a confrontation with the invisible corruption that thrives in weak systems. In a political climate demanding reform, and within an organization fighting for survival, the operation exposed the ghosts that had haunted PRASA's finances. The disappearance of 1,159 names from the payroll was not just a statistic. It was a symbol of an ongoing cleansing. The money saved offered a chance, however modest, to redirect resources where they truly belonged: into trains, tracks, safety, and service for millions of commuters. Yet the story of Operation Ziveze is also a cautionary tale. It reminds us that institutions do not collapse overnight. They erode slowly through neglect, complacency, and unchecked systems. And it shows that recovery begins not with grand speeches, but with the courage to look at the numbers and face the ghosts within them.